I want to be clear about something before we start this video. I am not a cynical person. I am someone who genuinely loves movies deeply and more than most people. But loving movies also means being honest, and there are films on this list in this video that I genuinely like. Some of these movies I genuinely love. But that doesn't mean that they can't be overhyped or maybe a little overrated beyond their station. Every film here gets judged by the same standard. No exceptions, no passes, no special treatment. That's not divisive. That's just honest. We're going to talk about some movies that I think might be just a little bit overhyped. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right, so now before we get into this, let's establish what I mean when I say overhyped. Overhyped doesn't necessarily mean bad, because there's movies on this list that I like, movies that I genuinely love and have nostalgia for, but being on this list means that the reputation has been built to the point where it sort of exceeds the reality of the film. And this is an honest evaluation of these movies in my professional opinion and as a fan. So if they're on this list, that's why, and I'm fully prepared for it in the comment section. But don't just be saying, oh, he just hates every one of these movies, because that's not true, and you didn't listen to what I said if you think that. But starting us right off, listen here. I'm pulling up my notes because I don't want anybody to, I don't want to say the wrong thing and set you all off. But Avatar. Listen, you can lump all the Avatar movies in here. Avatar is overhyped, overrated. This is a straightforward case here. James Cameron, these are high-grossing films. They make billions of dollars, but they have no cultural footprint, no lasting impact. Nothing. Name one Avatar character who has become a cultural touchstone. Name one Avatar moment that gets referenced, like, get away from her, you bitch. Or none of that happens, right? There's none of that with Avatar. It's just like this soulless vacuum. I mean, it's got beautiful creativity. The animation is next level. It's revolutionary in theaters, things that he's done, the world building, the fake world building, all of that. But within 6 months, you forget that they existed. There's hype about them coming out, and people are like, yeah, and it makes a lot of money. And like, Dad, did you see Avatar? Yeah, it's Avatar. Like it has no heart. It doesn't have the heart or soul to make it connect. To me, Avatar is got zero cultural footprint. It has zero staying power, and the argument is that, oh, well, it makes a lot of money. That doesn't mean anything to me. When it's all it is a money-making machine, great. And then it's discarded and forgotten. That's how Avatar is to me. Overhyped. I'm sorry. It's first on the list. Oh boy, and I'm probably about to rattle some cinephiles, but remember, I'm a professional filmmaker too, and I've taught this subject. I've taught film studies, all of those things. But 2019's Joker is just, that's one of the few movies that I just wanted to leave the theater. I thought it was horrible. I didn't think it was very good at all. You got Joaquin Phoenix in here as Arthur Fleck, and a failed comedian with a condition that causes him to laugh uncontrollably. And let me say this. If it wasn't trying to be a Joker movie, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. But because it's trying to be a Joker movie and it's trying to cash in, it's like a whole movie. It's like making Taxi Driver or what's the other, like King of New York, what the other movie? It's trying to make that movie and then slap the Joker label on it in order to get Joker and like comic book fans into the door. That's what it is. The violence is a logical response in the movie. It's a genuinely great performance by Joaquin Phoenix. It's stylish filmmaking, but it ain't a Joker movie. And that's what it's marketed as. And because comic book fans and people want something so serious and like elevated to grab onto as a comic book movie, they've kind of accepted it, even though it's not, because they want like a serious piece of film in here. And that has allowed it to become overhyped and overrated, in my opinion. I thought the performance was great from the start. I never thought it was a very good movie. I still don't. If you took the Joker name off of it, it would be better. But still, just don't agree with the levels it's been lifted to. Joker. Oh, I'm taking a big deep breath on this one before I drop Avengers Endgame on you from 2019. And listen, I love the movie. I took the kids to see the movie and they were little. We went and saw it. I checked them out of school, and I want to say that, look, qualification for anything else, I love the movie overall. Avengers Endgame is an extraordinary achievement in, like, filmmaking in a lot of ways for adventure Marvel movie making, but it's really overshadowed by Infinity War. It's not as good as Infinity War. It's overhyped. Infinity War was a better film. And almost nobody says that loudly enough. Infinity War is tighter. It's more focused. It has more emotion to it. It's more emotionally devastating for sure with the way it ends. The snap, the disintegration, the silence, all those things. And then Endgame follows that up and it succeeds in a lot of ways. But there are problems specific to Endgame that get glossed over because everybody's like, oh, they stuck the landing so well with this whole, the first 4 phases or whatever. But they're really glumming Infinity War into that sticking the landing. And the specific problems with Endgame are absolutely real. The fat Thor is a problem. You've got to deconstruct the heroes. You got to make fun of the guys. All those things. You got to tear them down. You took maybe definitely the most powerful Avenger, a character who has and can beat Thanos by himself, and you sideline him through grief, and you mock him and you make fun of him, and undermines everything about him, his character, and being a hero, and just sort of everything that's integral to the logic of the MCU, so that you can make fun of that guy. That's what you're doing. That's awful. And the girls get it done moment. I hated that the moment it happened. You know their intention, right? They're trying to push the girls are awesome kind of thing, but it required in that moment for characters to teleport basically from all over the battlefield to line up for the girls get it done. It is so cringe. It is so damn cringeworthy when you watch it back. It's like, ooh, full body shiver. It is that cringeworthy. And I don't care why you're doing it. It's obvious why you're doing it. It kind of launched the whole beginning of their subsequent failures in the downturn of Marvel Cinematic Universe, films in general, with too much of the girl boss, too much of the Mary Sue, too much of all of that is finally winding down now because movie after movie has failed. There's that moment that just sort of exemplifies it all, that it just sticks out like a sore thumb. There's time heist logic problems. There's a lot to this that kind of makes it on this list, but really it just can't hold a candle, in my opinion, to Infinity War. And that's the first part. So how do you hype this one above that? I guess it was inevitable, but I don't know. Endgame, number 8. Oh boy, and I'm going to lose some dad points for 2013 with Frozen. And listen, Frozen's got a horrible villain. There is no good villain. It is a structural problem for this whole movie that old school Disney absolutely never would have allowed to have this kind of plot holes and everything. The villain reveal that's Hans in the third act, it falls flat. The film doesn't properly set up anything. It doesn't build the worlds right. The villain, you're only, especially in these kind of movies, you're only as good as your villain. And classic Disney understood that with stuff like The Lion King and Scar, Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid. Those movies never had that problem. The villain was the villain. Scar was Scar, Gaston, all of those kind of things. You can make an argument Gaston was doing what he thought was right. I mean, he thought there was a beast that was killing people or could kill people. So, on that one. But, Darth Vader, who the villains are, right? Frozen's villain problem cascades into lots of other things. There's other things that don't need to be there. The trolls have almost no narrative purpose in this movie. This is their scenes exist as like to create like plot obstacles more than further the story in any kind of way. Elsa's character arc is not really that good. And here's my specific filmmaking observation, and that is Elsa's arc is frozen and incomplete. It is 100% frozen and incomplete. Let It Go, the signature song, is positioned as a moment of liberation and triumph, but within the narrative, Elsa is literally running away from her problems. She's running away from them. She's not dealing with them. She's endangering her whole kingdom. The song functions as emotionally as that triumph, but narratively that's functioning as a mistake. The film never reconciles those things. Frozen is fun, it's catchy, it's corporately saturated very to a high degree, and that has all the music being good and fun, and Olaf a fun character. These things have elevated it way beyond its actual filmmaking prowess, its worth as a film. I hate to say it, I'm a Disney guy, I'm much more of an old school Disney guy, but Frozen is overrated. All right, I'm ready for the Nolan bros to come at me with 2014's Interstellar. And listen, Christopher Nolan, and I want to be precise. Look, I have a couple notes here because I want to be precise about Nolan because, man, the swords are going to come out with me on Nolan. I think Nolan's a genuinely talented filmmaker. I love the fact that he loves physical media. I think Batman Begins is a great film. I think it's an underrated film. I think The Dark Knight is a great film that is largely elevated significantly by Heath Ledger's performance in that film. And that kind of made it a masterpiece. Dunkirk is a good movie. Again, not as great as people have it either. My position on Nolan is specifically about his reputation, and it's built on the genuine greatness of like two films, of those two films, because the third in that Batman trilogy is not that good, despite the fact that I like Bane. It's not really that good. The first two acts of Interstellar are pretty compelling. I saw this at the Cinerama Dome in Hollywood on 70 millimeter, laid back. You know, you had the Dust Bowl thing, you had the relationship between Cooper and Murph and the early space sequences, Matthew McConaughey, all that, and then it starts to fall apart. He becomes too bogged down in minutia. He has a problem with like imagination and myth that he's kind of bringing over to the Odyssey. It's a moving film in a lot of ways. I saw it that time and I own the movie and I've never watched it again because it's just, and then I hear people talk about it like it's the greatest thing and I'm like, have you seen some characters in this? Have you seen some of the acting? Have you seen what he's kind of doing here? A better first two acts of this film. But Nolan's reputation, like I think falsely lifts up too many of his movies, and Interstellar is chief among them. Interstellar, overhyped. Not a bad movie, but definitely overhyped. And then there's one I've talked about on the channel before, Hereditary. And as a horror filmmaker, a horror writer, a film teacher, all of that, this movie is, I'm sorry, it's not as good as people want it to be. This comes from a very specific place, and I want to be transparent about it because you got Ari Aster, who Carpenter himself said he believes Ari Aster secretly hates horror films. You got Toni Collette in here, whose performance also gets overblown. She's crunked to 11 in this whole movie. And having directed actors, famous all the way down to first-timers, being crunk up to 11 all the time is actually far, far easier than a nuanced up and down approach. And that's why people are like, how did she not get nominated? Because she's stuck in one gear the whole time. That's why. I think the movie is very overrated. The film presents, this is a big problem with horror. I did a whole video on what has happened to horror. The film is stuck in this world where evil exists, specifically demonic evil, satanic evil, specific demons are mentioned, specific intentions are mentioned as they totally 100% are accepted to exist, and all of that is presented that way without the notion, without even the possibility that the counterbalance, that good, that God, that the other side exist. And I understand maybe Ari Aster's taking that as a deliberate artistic choice, but it seems like every horror movie, quote unquote horror movie, is trying to do that these days. It's pure nihilism, it's pure hopelessness that it's selling to you, and that is not how horror really is. And people are like, you need to understand the definition of horror. Trust me, I understand the definition of horror. The experience of horror films, horror, great horror, operates in a universe where both evil and good exist, where the threat is real, but so is the possibility, the hope of survival and a better day. So the possibility of goodness, the tension between good and evil, the overcoming or being pulled down, that tension back and forth is what makes horror work. Hereditary removes completely one side of the dramatic tension entirely. It's hopeless, it's inevitable march towards this is what's happening. And audiences, I think, are just starved for something that takes itself seriously, that is good. They overcorrect on the response. It's like if you're starving to death and someone throws you a plain saltine cracker to do the Eddie Murphy thing from like Eddie Murphy Raw or Delirious, whichever it was, and you're like, you eat that cracker, to you that's not just a plain old saltine cracker. You're like, ooh, that's a Ritz, that's the greatest cracker I've ever had in my life. And that's what it is. Like, you're so starved for something good that something mediocre to less than average seems great to you. Hereditary, overhyped. As a horror filmmaker, I'll stand by it. And then there is another MCU movie, Black Panther. And you got Ryan Coogler directing, Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa. You got the King of Wakanda returning after the Captain America Civil War stuff. And Black Panther is a good movie, right? Chadwick Boseman is compelling. Rest in peace to him. God bless. Way too soon lost him. Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger is a good villain. And all of that is true. But every film needs to be evaluated by exactly the same standards, not different standards because of any social thing around the movie. And that's kind of what happened here. And that's not a divisive position. It was this big cultural thing for African American people with this. And so it was almost like the movie got immediately immune to any kind of fair criticism, and it started getting leveled up. But if you hold Black Panther to the other standards, beyond the narrative of the first two acts specifically, once you find out what makes Killmonger so compelling and all that, there are legit observations that are bad. The CGI in this one is pretty weak. The weight of the movie, it's kind of all over. There's a conflict of ideas here. Black Panther is a good movie, but everybody wants to decline to say, hey, look, the CGI wasn't good. The visual clarity of it wasn't good. It looked like it was clearly in front of a green screen. Some of especially the third act action sequences are some of the weakest in the MCU. All of those kind of things just totally got glossed over. Some of the dialogue is kind of bad. There's a lot of things like that. There's dialogue that conflicts with the whole rest of the MCU universe in the mentality of it. And it's just kind of the critics at large declined to address it. And so the movie just kept getting lifted up and up and up and up. Good movie, fun movie, own the movie, all that kind of stuff, just lifted above its station for reasons that have nothing to do with actual film. Oh boy, and I might as well go ahead and make the Tarantino fans mad too, because Reservoir Dogs, man, Quentin Tarantino's debut feature here, and Reservoir Dogs, I think, is where Tarantino fell in love with his dialogue and the way he writes dialogue. And I love his dialogue, but that both made his career and limited it in some ways to kind of feeling very similar. The opening diner scene in Reservoir Dogs, the discussion of Madonna and like a virgin and tipping and all those things was completely unlike anything else. But the reason this movie got to where it was is Harvey Keitel. At this time, there wasn't really actors doing as many, like big movie star actors doing low budget independent films. And you get Harvey Keitel in here, and immediately once he agrees to appear, well, now this movie has stars in it. You get other stars, you get a little bit more money, and now the visibility goes way up. So that kind of dialogue written, and I love writing dialogue. That kind of dialogue written, if you didn't have those actors in there and get that visibility, it could have easily been cast off as like a film school nerd overcooking his grits on the dialogue. But because of who he got in there, it becomes a cultural landmark. And I think it is, so many people love this movie. I think it is among his weakest. I put it just above the 2 Kill Bill movies myself. I think Jackie Brown, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Inglourious Bastards, Hateful Eight, Django, all these far superior films, far superior. So for that reason, Reservoir Dogs is on this list. All right, now the next one on the list is going to shock you guys, but listen, I genuinely love this film. It's 1986's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and to be completely clear about this, this is a wonderful movie. I love it. I love John Hughes. I'm an 80s kid. I love all these movies, but I think it's at the bottom of the movies he's directed outside of like maybe Curly Sue, I think he did. It's definitely behind like Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Uncle Buck, Weird Science. It's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, definitely. It's behind all of those to me. And Ferris Bueller is fun. He's charming. This is a kind of, coming of age kind of just, rebellion thing. But there's issues here that people don't ever talk about. As a filmmaker, the observation is Ferris Bueller has absolutely no arc. It's actually Cameron who has a character arc. Ferris is the exact same person at the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie. He didn't learn a damn thing. And that's fine if you want that to be like that, but usually that should be for a secondary character. Or if that's what you're trying to say is he didn't have to learn anything, that's fine, but he's very much a static character. I don't know. I don't put it up there. It doesn't have the same vibes to me. It doesn't have any of that. It's still a wonderful film. There's structural problems, I know, with the way they shot it, all of that, and it never really explains why. When you line it up against his greatest works, Ferris Bueller, I love. I can watch it. It's funny. It does not punch like Weird Science, like Breakfast Club, like 16 Candles, like Uncle Buck, and like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. To me, it's not with those, but man, it gets lifted up because of quotes from the movie and just the iconic imagery and things like that. But that just means the reality and the perceived reality don't jive, and that makes it a little overhyped. And finally, here we are at number 1, and The Shawshank Redemption. Yes, I said it. IMDb sometimes has this as like number 1 greatest movie of all time, and it ain't, Chief. It's not above Citizen Kane, which is boring to me too, kind of. It's definitely not above Casablanca to me. It's not above It's a Wonderful Life. It's not above Jaws. It's not above Rocky. It's not above 2001. It's not above Vertigo. There's a lot of movies it's not above. It damn sure is not number 1, and that is sort of the glaring thing about it being lifted up as being a little overhyped. It's a great film. Frank Darabont doing a Stephen King story here. It's a great film. Morgan Freeman's narration, Tim Robbins' performance, all of those things, but Apocalypse Now, it ain't. The Shining, it ain't. Gone with the Wind, it ain't. It's not up there with those types of movies to me. Shawshank leaves you with answers, beautiful answers, warm answers, a good feeling, especially with the ending that they went with. It confirms how you already see the world warmly. You got Freeman's voice that makes it feel even more comfortable. A great film, but the fact that it's listed oftentimes as the greatest ever or among the 5 greatest ever, no. That proves it is overhyped. Even if I like the movie genuinely, really do, which is the truth, it's not at that level. And by it being elevated to that level, proves it has to be on an overhyped list. Shawshank Redemption comes in at number 1. So there you go. 10 films that I think are just a little bit elevated above their station. No hate on the films whatsoever at all. If you love them, that is awesome. I just think the reality of them doesn't match the talk and the buzz and the idea of them. So there you go. It's Avatar, Joker, I can't remember a while now, Endgame, Frozen. They're all on the list. You can let me know your thoughts. What are some overrated movies that you actually love, but you think that maybe people overhype them just a little, or some that you hate that you think are overhyped? Let me know down there. Subscribe, stick around. This is just fun. Don't get upset by it, but I do stand by what I said. Hit the bell, hang around, subscribe. If you want to help support what we're doing here a little more, you can join my Patreon and get your name on every video, special members only videos, and so much more, and everything helps the channel. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.